telethon. Who knows what the hell it is? We're here at that StorageMart. Are we live? Are we going? Are we? Yes, it's fantastic. Hello, Norm.
Dave, nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
And so am I.
Norm, where are we?
Well, we're in a storage place somewhere in central Toronto. This is actually a storage unit that our thrifty producer and CEO, COO of SkateToGreat.org, Evan Kozner, arranged. So we're doing a show. This is probably the first time in the history of the human race that an online show, TV, whatever you want to call it, video, an online show has been done from a storage unit. So Dave, I guess in that sense, you know, you must be proud. I mean, I am, but you know, the first in the history of mankind online show from a storage space in central Toronto. It's so secretive that we can't give the exact location, David. You know that. Okay, and we're actually here. My background, some of you might know, as a sports broadcaster. I was on the Fan for 20 years, the Fan 590, the first all-sports radio station in Toronto. I was on Sirius XM satellite radio for 3 years. And David, of course, has come from a different kind of media background. But as you can tell, as we say in the business, he's got the pipes. That means the voice, right? So he's quite well-versed at expressing himself. So, Dave, I'm going to let you be the MC, so to speak. You want to ask me, of course, because we're talking about Skate to Great. So there'd be a tie-in with the Stanley Cup playoffs, which for the purposes of this show, going live to air on this Wednesday evening, the Stanley Cup playoffs begin tonight. And, of course, it's a 2-month sprint till about the middle of June to see who ends up on top. And, of course, mostly Canadians tuning in this program, so there's 2 Canadian teams, the Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets. And there's lots of great storylines. Las Vegas Golden Knights, the expansion team. They've had a fantastic, unbelievably fantastic regular season, finishing first in their division. And it's unprecedented, I think, in the history of sports where an expansion club has a chance to legitimately, you know, contend for the championship. So anyway, there's lots of great storylines. Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, are one of the favorite teams in the East, although Toronto is a sentimental pick, not illegitimate. I don't mean sentimental illegitimately. I mean in terms of they're sentimental because they got such a big following and they haven't won the Cup since '67, but they've had a spectacular regular season with some tremendous youngsters who, of course, Leaf fans, everybody else is familiar with, led by Austin Matthews. So we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of great storylines. The Leafs and the Bruins, who have a history. Maple Leaf collapse in 2013 in Boston, where they had a 4-1 lead with about 10 minutes to go, and they lost it. They lost the series. If you want to go way back, 1969, the Maple Leafs had a whole bunch of bench-clearing brawls with the Boston Bruins. The Big Bad Bruins, as they're known. Pat Quinn, God rest his soul, who became a Leaf coach, was then the Leaf defenseman. He knocked out Bobby Orr with a hit, and the Bruins and Orr say it was an elbow, and Pat Quinn in the Maple Leafs feel was just a hard hit. Anyway, lots of great storylines. So that's just a little bit of some of the things, but there's other things we can talk about. So I'm turning over to Mr., the one and only David Bronstein. And Dave, like, you've got such, I mean, I think I have a decent voice, but you're amazing. I mean, you could probably be the best used car salesman in the world.
Norm, I just have one question.
Just one? That's
yes,
all?
Yes.
Okay, what's that?
What am I doing here? What am I doing?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Why don't you send a text message to our producer, CEO, CFO, from, could do another plug, SkateToGreat.org. That'd be Evan Kozner. And that's a great question to ask him. But I think he likes, you know, because obviously you're a high-energy guy.
Yes.
You're passionate about whatever you're passionate about, because I don't really know you. This is the first time I've met you. So what are you passionate about? Are you like a hardcore jock, like sports fan, or just casual sports fan? Like, well, what's your number one passion in life?
This is a family show.
Oh, okay. No, but that's there. Well, okay, that kind of stuff's everybody's passion. But aside from that.
I'm from Philadelphia.
Oh, you're from Philly?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Well, I know all about Philly. Well, I used to go there. I had a lady friend from summer camp. I visited, well, I didn't go there a lot. I went there a couple times. When I was in high school, I went to see the Maple Leafs and the Flyers. This is March of '74, where the Flyers ended up later that spring winning their first Stanley Cup, first of 2 back-to-back. So I'm at the Spectrum with my buddy Daryl Hennick. I'm wearing a Leafs jersey. I'm wearing a number 27 Daryl Sittler jersey. My buddy, I think, is wearing a Keon number 14 jersey. And you know, the amazing things they talk about, because there is a lot of truth that the fans in Philadelphia, they're pretty tough. They're very tough. Like they, you know, the expression from a Philadelphia Eagles game was, it was true. They booed Santa Claus. I mean, you got, it takes something special to boo Santa, but they did. They actually booed Santa Claus. So, so anyway, so we're down there, and there we are, the only two people in the building wearing Maple Leafs jerseys, and it was like they adopted us like household pets. They never seen anybody from Toronto come down and cheer for the Leafs in their building. That was because Philadelphia is a tough place, right?
Yes.
It was unheard of. Anyway, they were nice to us. They bought us drinks, but they'd be cussing out the Maple Leaf players. So, anyway, it's just kind of funny because you're mentioning Philadelphia. I've been down there before, and then I went a year later to see the Maple Leafs and the Flyers. The Flyers killed them like 5-1 or something. But anyway, the Flyers were a Stanley Cup team back then, back-to-back championship in 74-75. And the Flyers are in the playoffs this year playing their good buddies from across state Pittsburgh. So that's one of the series. I'm just checking my matchups. They're playing on this Wednesday night, Flyers-Penguins. So that's a great matchup, too. Anyway, lots of great matchups. The former champs, the LA Kings, with I mentioned the expansion Las Vegas Golden Knights, who have taken everybody by surprise with their tremendous performance this year as an expansion team. But anyway, there's a lot of great storylines. So go ahead. I rudely interrupted you with my 10-minute monologue.
No, you're fantastic. I mean, you're a real pro because you're a radio personality.
Yeah.
And to have that talent on the radio to go on and on. I mean,
well, you know, in radio, sometimes you have to because anything can happen where, you know, an interview, a guest can't make it or cancels, or there's a phone line goes down or whatever, or you got to be able to tap dance. It's like doing stand-up comedy, except you're not doing stand-up comedy, you're talking sports. So if you're going to succeed in radio, or I had a nice almost 25-year run, you've got to be able to be innovative and just react to circumstances. So sometimes you have to talk for a long time. And not that I need to, because you could carry this whole program without me even being here and do your shtick, which is pretty good, I must admit.
very kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I'm used to doing that because I did that for most of my working life.
When you were on the air, did you have a sidekick personality or other?
Well, yeah, I had co-hosts, but I did a lot of shows solo, but I did a lot of years co-hosting. But I mean, I was comfortable with both. I had some great co-hosts, including my good buddy right now, who's still on the air, fan Roger Lajoie. So we've been best friends for like 30 years. So yeah, I'm used to doing both, and I'm comfortable with either in terms of hosting by myself or hosting with a guest or a co-host. So it's just something, you know, I could talk forever about sports and my feelings about sports, and you know, our production team there, Mr. Monaco, he's the guy pushing the buttons and whatnot. He pulled up some. I told him to look for some YouTube videos or highlights, rather, it would be video, of the Maple Leafs and the Bruins way back in 1969. That was a bench-clearing brawl-filled series. The Leafs got scorched because the Bruins were on the verge of winning Stanley Cup a year later in 1970. But yeah, the Leafs lost the first game in Boston 11-0, the second game 7-0. Then they made two good efforts at home, and they lost 4-3 and 3-2. So the Bruins swept them, but at least the home games were competitive. What was notable outside of the blowouts in Boston was there was a big bench-clearing brawl between the Leafs and the Bruins, I think in the second game, and all stemming from Pat Quinn, as I mentioned, God rest his soul, the late former Leaf player and Leafs coach. Obviously, he had a great career coaching elsewhere, including Philadelphia. We had some tremendous years with the Flyers, but he was like an average, if I can say so, an average defenseman, stay at home, hard hitting, not great, but he had a nice little career as a player, including with Toronto and Vancouver and Atlanta. If I'm not mistaken, the Atlanta Flames, as they were known back then. And so there's this one play where Bobby Orr skating down the ice, the all-time great Bruin defenseman, and Pat Quinn hits him or takes him into the boards. And what was never really finalized, depending on who you ask, is did he hit him with an elbow or was it a clean hit? Anyway, in any case, Bobby Orr got knocked out. So there was there was one big bench clearing brawl, and the Bruin fans were cussing out and making threatening comments to Pat Quinn. And Pat, I don't think, was worried about it because he was like 6'4", 250 pounds. So he could take care of himself. In fact, the story goes that because Pat Quinn was a rookie with the Leafs, as a rookie initiation, they sent him out to get the beer that night in Boston after the game. And, you know, Boston is known for being, you know, an Irish town, right, in terms of its background. Well, Pat Quinn's obviously he's Irish. So he went into this one bar, and originally, you know, people were thinking, well, he's a Maple Leaf player. Maybe they're going to try and rough him up or chase him out. Well, the name Pat Quinn. He went to a good Irish bar, I guess, and they gave him the beer, and he got the beer for the Maple Leafs for that night, and nobody was going to pick a fight with him. Anyway, that's just one of the stories. I mentioned the Leaf Series 2013 with the Bruins, where Boston came back from a 4-1 deficit and beat the Maple Leafs in the final game of that series. And that was a big collapse by Toronto. There was 10 minutes left in the third period. But the Maple Leafs have improved. They got some great youngsters, Matthews, Marner, Nylander. So Toronto this year has been superb. They're tremendous scoring. The one vulnerability the Maple Leafs have is defensively. You know, they can score 3 or 4 goals and then just as easily, you know, within the same game, give up 2 or 3 very quickly. They've done that several times this past year. So the Maple Leafs, if they outscore teams, they could go right to the finals perhaps. But if they still struggle defensively, which they have at times during the year in spite of their excellent record, you know, this series with Boston, I think it's flip a coin. Toronto-Boston, it could go 7 games, and it could go to like 7th game overtime, because I think they're pretty closely matched. Both teams have tremendous talent. But like I say, Toronto's record defensively, they're a little more sketchy in terms of their defensive play. Tremendous offense, but questions on defense. And we'll see if Boston can exploit that. The favorites, I think, to get to the finals, well, there's a couple, and I've mentioned even the Western Conference. Winnipeg would be an amazing story if they got there as the other Canadian representative. They had a great year, and it's a great story with their return to Winnipeg after the team moved away in 1995. So did the Quebec Nordiques. The Winnipeg Jets ended up moving to Arizona. They became the Coyotes, but then, anyway, long and short of it was the Canadian dollar was down at 60 cents US, so a lot of the Canadian teams other than Toronto couldn't keep up financially. Why? Because the salaries are paid in US dollars. So they struggled, and there wasn't even anybody in Canada who wanted to buy either the Winnipeg Jets or the Quebec Nordiques. Anyway, the story is Winnipeg is back. They came back a few years ago from Atlanta. The team relocated, the Atlanta Thrashers, to Winnipeg, and they're back as the Jets, as they were known. And now Winnipeg they're a legit shot to maybe get to the Western Conference Finals. And I mean, I don't think anybody would be blown away if they won the Stanley Cup. A little bit surprised maybe. And of course, the other great story I mentioned is the Las Vegas Golden Knights, expansion team, who've had a spectacular season, unprecedented, I think, in sports history for an expansion team to be this good in their first year. So there's a few of the great storylines. There's always a whole bunch. I've already usurped 20 minutes of the show. And I could go on and on and on. I mean, you can tell my cardio is fairly good. I work, I walk about 5 times a week. But anyway, so Dave, now that I've taken up about a third of the show, go ahead and tell our viewers and listeners whatever you feel like conveying to them about your passion, aside from the one you can't mention, the other one. That's, like you say, that's a family matter. Well, it's not a family. That's not for a family show, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't speak very coherently there. I got too excited thinking about the possibilities of what Dave might discuss. But anyways, Dave, your turn. I'm going to go out for a coffee break, and have a sandwich or something. And 20 minutes from now, I'll be ready to take over for you again. I'm just kidding. But go ahead, Dave.
I should have brought a book to read.
You could have read War and Peace by
now.
You ain't
kidding. I have no idea what he's talking about. Sports and hockey. Are we talking about hockey? Is that what you're talking about?
I was, yeah.
Yes.
Although we could switch. Do you want to talk about another sport?
No, I don't think
World football, soccer?
Is Bernie Perron still with the Flyers?
No, he retired as a Flyer. He played. Do you know he played briefly for Toronto? The 71 playoffs. The Leafs made a trade for Bernie Perron. So he and Jacques Plante were the Leafs tandem in the 71 playoffs against the New York Rangers. Bring that up at your next cocktail party. And the Leafs lost to the Rangers, by the way, in 6 games that year. Remember it like it was yesterday. Actually, in one of the games, game number 2, you should write this down, Dave. Game number 2 at Madison Square Garden, the Leafs and the Rangers, 1971. There was a bench clearing brawl. One of the Ranger players, actually was their captain, Vic Hadfield, grabbed Bernie Perron's mask and threw it into the seats. And then the Ranger fans started chanting, "Don't give it back. Don't." Well, guess what? They didn't give it back. And they mailed it to him after the series was over. So Anyways, the Rangers won that series in 6 games. But yeah, that was memorable of Toronto, New York. I don't know why I mentioned that, but you mentioned Bernie Perron. Well, he was the Leafs goalie. But a year later, his wife, the story goes, apparently, his wife didn't like Toronto, so she wanted to leave go. So he signed a contract, Bernie Perron did, with the expansion Miami Screaming Eagles, but they never actually played a game. They were the World Hockey Association, a rival league, which lasted for about 10 years. And he left Toronto, and then he ended up going back to the NHL and ended up back with the Flyers. Anyway, that's a long and short. But yeah, Bernie Perron had basically a 2-year stint with Toronto. And he and Jacques Plante, legendary goalkeeper, primarily with Montreal. Yeah, Jacques Plante and Bernie Perron was a great 1-2 punch in net for Toronto that year. So there you go. There's something else for you to mull over at your next get-together, Dave.
When are you going out for coffee? You said you were going out for coffee.
We're what? We must be like 20, 25 minutes into the show.
All right. Who knows? Is it Wednesday already? That's all I want.
We should ask the astute producer, Mr. Monaco. Can we find that highlight of Pat Quinn knocking out Bob? Let me know if you get it. We'll show it. It's like it was like incredible, and to this day it's debated as to whether or not it was a legal hit or an illegal hit. But Pat Quinn got penalized on it. But yeah, it led to a bench-clearing brawl. And, I mean, actually the bench-clearing brawl would be quite interesting to show. Because, like, everybody's on the ice. Now those aren't allowed, right? There's serious penalties and punishment if you engage in a bench-clearing brawl and suspensions. So, I don't know if we're going to try and get that up on here. Oh, look at it. They got the cops down there. Oh, there we go.
The penalty box.
Well, this is in Toronto because the Leafs are wearing blue jerseys, and I can't really tell who. That's Chicago. That's Chicago. So sorry, folks. It's not the Leafs and the Bruins, but anyway, that's back in the old days, the 6-team NHL. So, all right. Well, anyway, we're just giving you a little taste of yesteryear, but yeah, the Leafs and the Bruins back in '69 had this contentious series. Bruins swept them in 4, but it was there was some pretty, if you enjoyed fighting in hockey, that is, there were some pretty lively fighting matches that took place during that game. But the Bruins were a year away from winning the Stanley Cup, and the Maple Leafs were rebuilding. So, anyways, that's the way it went back in 1969. Okay, so I'm almost needing an oxygen tank now, Dave, because I've been going on for about 25 minutes. Although, like I say, I could go talk other sports, but it's kind of defeating that. I should mention again, we're here for skatethegreat.org.
Yes.
So go ahead and give it a plug there.
Yes, we're here. Please call this number on the screen here, 1-800-SKATE2GATE.
To great.
What is it called?
Skate to Great.
Skate to Great. What am I doing here? Call this number. Skate to Gate. What is that? Call this number for Watergate. It's 1-855 Skate to Great. Is that what it's called?
Skate to Great.
Skate to Great, because we're giving these fantastic skates away to the children. Is that correct? Yes. You got to help out the kids. The kids need skating in Canada. Who knows why? What do you want? I'm from Philadelphia. You think I know what the hell's going on here? So please call this number. And how about the kids? It's all about the children, the wonderful kids. Now, I'm going to ask you something about hockey. My kids...
Like, people in Philadelphia love cheesesteaks. Is that right?
Yes. Philadelphia is the... They're just so big and fat in Philadelphia. And I would be, too, if I still lived there.
Wait a second. If you're, we're of the same background, but, I mean, are those kosher?
No.
I don't care because I'm not observant, right?
The food is so good. The cheesesteaks and the corned beef specials, and where I grew up in Philly, the Yodels, the Entenmann donuts. I was there in August. I would be a big fat pig if I lived there.
Yeah, I knew a family. This is years ago, going back to summer camp. I haven't seen them since like the mid '70s. So if they're still, I don't know if they even live there. They used to live in a suburb of Philadelphia called Broomall.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to the Solitskys, in case they remember me from summer camp days.
Yes, it was a wonderful time. It's a different Philadelphia than when I grew up than it is now.
Oh yeah, no, there was. I was under the impression back then there's some parts of Philly where you don't necessarily want to be if you're like a tourist or driving at night. Anyway, but no, the people there were really nice. I love it, especially when I went to that Leafs Flyers game.
But why are the Flyers called the Broad Street Bullies?
Because they used to intimidate other teams. Sometimes they were a little bit dirty with their sticks and their skates. They were very tough. They were very tough. They would, you see, the Flyers were so good at killing penalties and scoring goals that their philosophy with their late coach Fred Shiro, brilliant coach, who led them to those 2 Stanley Cups, was they could take penalties, or they could, for example, do things that were against the rules, like elbow somebody, or high stick somebody, or slash somebody, or spear somebody. They could do it almost every second. Well, the referee's not going to call a penalty every second. Oh, we got the Leaf. Oh, we're going back here to the Leaf Bruin highlight from '69. So this is a hit.
Back when, wham! Now he said, wait a minute, he hit me with an elbow. Now he's out cold. Now watch this here. He comes around again in slow motion. I hope you're wrong. Now watch the elbow. Watch the elbow. He'd get 40 games now if he ever bang. Knocked him cold. I'll tell you that right now. Is that a beauty hit or what? Charging or an elbow? I told Bobby did. He didn't believe me. Bobby said, hey, bigger, he did. Now here he goes. Cheevers after Forbes Kennedy. Soul of the earth, Bob Kennedy. Watch the fan nail. Watch it. Bang. You think the fans aren't toughened?
Well, like I say, it was but Don Cherry, our good buddy Mike Gray. I worked on his TV show, by the way, 1982, The Grapevine. I was the first year, so Don and I know each other quite well. But Grapes, what he was highlighting there was not only the hit from Pat Quinn on Bobby Orr, and it depends on which side you ask, was it legal or not, but also the fans of there's a player who played for the Flyers, Forbes Kennedy, who's wearing number 22 for the Maple Leafs. He's fighting, I think, Johnny McKenzie for the Bruins. He's called him Pie Face. And the Bruin fan is grabbing a Leaf player's jersey from over the glass and holding him back. So they were doing that to Forbes Kennedy. It was no pushover. So back then, it's like, that's the sort of stuff that went on.
And you can't do that now.
No. A fan would be thrown out of the game, first of all, or whatever. But, well, you can't have a bench-clearing brawl. If you participate in a bench-clearing brawl, you're suspended or the team is fined. So it just doesn't happen anymore because there used to be a lot of those. The NHL wanted to crack down and eliminate them, so they did. But anyway, yeah, so I have a little bit of a familiarity with Philadelphia from visiting there a couple of times.
Yes.
But heck of a sports town, of course. Your Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champions. An amazing story. Amazing story.
Yes.
No one gave them a chance, and they stuck it to everybody. Good for them. Great story.
When was the last time they won? In the 60s, early 60s? Did they ever win?
Oh, God. Well, not the modern era of Super Bowls. No, they were in the Super Bowl led by Donovan McNabb, and that was about 10 years ago. They lost to New England, but now they beat them this time. So it's an amazing story. Philadelphia, I think they had some great teams previously, but they always had some heartbreaking situations, bad play, bad game, whatever. So they've had some great players over the years, but just, hard luck, bad luck, misfortune, whatever you want to say.
Yes.
Some guys just had a bad game. Whatever it is, it's like a long history, like every other team, right? But now the Eagles are they're the cat's meow. Right? They won the Super Bowl. They beat the biggest, the baddest, and the best. So good for them. It's great story for the city of Philadelphia.
Yes.
Because they're like every other city. They won championships, and the Eagles had come close before, but now they've done it.
And the Philadelphia fans are so passionate about that.
Oh yeah.
They're crazy. I mean, if you go with another jersey.
Yeah. Well, we used to go to an Eagles game. More so at their older stadium, not
Veteran Stadium.
Yeah, Veteran Stadium. Not this one's not Liberty. I'm just gapping out. Anyway, their older stadium, their previous stadium. If you went there and you wore a New York Giants jersey or Dallas Cowboys jersey, you might take a bit of a beating. And supposedly they have a little courtroom there because there used to be so many fights. The cops set up a little courtroom underneath the stadium for people to get arrested. That's what I was told.
Is that just in Philly or other cities too?
Well, I know. I'm pretty sure it was at the Vet. Now, maybe they have them in New York too. I don't know, but I don't know if it was true because I never went to an Eagles game. I went to a Flyers game. But the story used to go that they had a little detention area there for the cops to use if they needed it. Anyway.
But it's not supposed to be like that, right?
Well, no, the NFL's a bit different. It's not supposed to be like that, but it's Philadelphia, your town.
Yes.
Your town.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Philadelphia. I mean, it's you got the Liberty Bell and the statue of Rocky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are they gonna have a statue for you, David?
Yes, yeah, I built
What's it going to be called?
Yeah.
It's not the statue of David, not that one, not the one in Florence.
Not that one.
No, I don't think so. that one's all due respect. That's that's pretty prestigious.
I understand. Yes, but
beautiful. Actually, I've been there. I've seen that great statue of David in Florence.
Maybe we could do a crowdfunding campaign to give me a statue.
Okay. Well, we're here for skatethegreat.org, and we're actually, I know it's hard to believe in people, but we're doing this from a storage room, a storage unit. It's unbelievable. It's it's a little bit cool in here. If it's any cooler, it'll start snowing soon. But goes along with Toronto weather because here we are, nicely into April, and it's actually snowing before we came.
It's freezing outside. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, it's April.
The climate change dynamic has not hit Toronto yet. Or extreme weather, maybe, but not climate change in terms of being warmer. Okay, that's a whole diversion. Okay, so David, now I've usurped about 35 minutes of this 45-minute show. So I think I've earned like a coffee break. I'm not going to take it because we're not unionized, but I'll sit back and listen to you do your shtick for a little.
Thank
How's
you.
that?
You're fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So your take on everything sports, or
yes.
You want to share more about the city of Philadelphia has a great musical history.
They do? Oh, yes, they do. Yes, yes, of course they do.
What did you grow up listening to?
Yes,
Come
yes.
on, buddy.
There's Frankie Avalon and Bobby Rydell.
The Delphonics.
Oh, they're from Philadelphia?
Yeah.
I didn't
La
know
la
that.
la 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 means I love you. You don't remember that song?
Yes.
From 1969?
I know they're from Philadelphia. Delphonics.
Yeah, or the disco band TSOP.
Yes.
The Sound of Philadelphia.
Oh, you're fantastic.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yes. And Len Berry?
Len Berry, 1, 2, 3?
Yes.
I didn't know he was a Philly guy.
Yes, he's from Philadelphia.
Really?
And the Bristol Stomp is...
Oh, the Bristol, yeah. Okay, well, I know that song. Yeah, that's late 50s, early 60s.
Bristol, Pennsylvania. That's what it was written for, near Levittown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so Philly's a big, yes.
Yeah, no, Philly's a great town for music.
For music, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so please call this. I'm David Bronstein. You know me from late night TV. My company produces television infomercials.
Oh, good.
Yes.
What are you going to sell now? Other than Skate to Great, though.
Well,
Anything you want to sell, Dave?
yes. Well, we do.
What have you got?
We do business with Shark Tank, Dragons Den type inventors.
Oh, okay.
And you know products like the ShamWow and the Slap Chop and the.
Oh yeah, what happened to ShamWow, dude? I haven't seen him on TV in a while. What happened to that guy? He was good.
He made $1 billion.
I wouldn't
That product
doubt
made it, and the Snuggie blanket and Proactive do $1 billion.
So did he retire with all the money he made?
He came up with something else called the what's the next thing? Something with Chop. I'm in a nutty business. I'm in a business that doesn't make any sense.
Are you and he good buddies? You and ShamWow? What's his name?
His name is Vince.
Vince.
Yes.
Well, that's what he says his name is.
That's what it says.
Is that his real name?
Who knows? I don't know. But that's the nutty world I play in.
Is he from Philly too?
No, he's not from Philly. Who knows? I think he's Israeli.
No.
I think Vince.
Israeli with blonde hair?
Well, who knows? Yeah, well.
Okay,
All
anyway.
right. So I'm so happy that's what I do. And I'm so happy. Is this show finished yet? Not yet. I'm so happy to be here. And I want you to call this. I'm very professional. I want you to call this number here.
So,
yes?
Dave, do you sing and dance also?
Oh, are you kidding?
Actually, the great comedian David Brenner was a Philadelphia guy, right?
You're great. You are. And Joey Bishop, yes.
Joey Bishop, I didn't know. David Brenner, I knew.
Yeah, Joey Bishop was from South Philadelphia, yes.
Okay.
Yes. David Brenner was great, yes. He was a great comic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So you're running out of things to say?
Running out of things to say.
I'm sort of sensing that.
Well,
that's kind of like when, in our business, that means it's time to fill. So the producers go like this, stretch it out, stretch it out. Yeah, that's what you got to do. When one of the hosts either goes blank or a guest, whatever. Sometimes you have a problem with a guest
Well, when our executive producer asked me to come on this show,
yeah.
I love him. I love Evan. So I said, I'll do anything I can for you, but I don't know why I'm here, what I'm doing here, why I'm talking to Norm.
Because you're a colorful, high energy guy, right?
Thank you.
Like we all learn this, like whether it's in theater school or radio, TV.
Yes.
If you want an audience to respond to you, you put out energy, you get energy back, right?
You're right.
So you know all about that, Dave. That's what all you guys do with your infomercials, you and Vince and all the others from the Infomercial Hall of Fame.
My world is a 3-ring circus.
Did you at least get a free ShamWow or whatever?
I can tell you the story about the ShamWow, but
that'd be great.
That would be great.
In a sports, I think for a sports show, that needs to be
the ShamWow.
The history of the ShamWow.
Nothing makes any sense in what I do.
Hey, maybe our elite product, Mr. Monaco, is amongst the superb, the best ever. He might be able to track down Vince and do like a ShamWow rerun. But just don't call the number. I don't think they're available anymore. Right?
Oh my! Have you heard of fidget spinners? You know the little toy that kids play with on their finger, fidget spinners.
No.
Oh, that did $1 billion too.
Spinners. Spinners were from Philadelphia.
Oh,
remember
this guy's fantastic. He knows more about Philadelphia than I do.
Now, am I right? Are the Spinners from
Yes. Oh my! This is the craziest thing I ever heard.
Okay, well, it's like, yeah, no, I mean, that's how I got inspired to work in a radio, because I grew up listening to back then it was Top 50 radio, 1050 Chum in Toronto. Those guys, the DJs, were my heroes. I knew when I was 9 years old I wanted to work in front of a microphone, but the inspiration, because I knew I was never going to be a professional hockey player. Back then there was only 6 teams, so it was too hard to make it. But no, I loved, I thought, wow, if you ever have a job to be a disc jockey, right? And play tunes and, you know, have people calling in and whatnot. So that was in the 60s. I used to fall asleep listening to radio. So I listened to all this music. Like, I could still go back and, you know, list off. I've still got my 45s and my 33, you know, albums.
Oh,
all of them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I know where a lot of musicians are from. So.
He brought up your friend here.
Oh, there's Vince.
Yes.
Mr. Shamwow.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. We'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. It's like a chamois, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge. A regular towel doesn't work wet. This works wet or dry. This is for the house, the car, the boat, the RV. ShamWow holds 12 times its weight in liquid. Look at it.
That's like Hall of Fame infomercial stuff. I mean, you gotta say it, right, Dave?
Yes, yeah.
I know your stuff is great, but it's
wonderful.
Vince is like, if they had a Hall of Fame for infomercial hosts, he'd be like number
He's
one.
great. He's absolutely great at what he does.
Yeah,
Yes.
and his throwaway lines are just priceless.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was great performer. Okay, so somehow we went from the Stanley Cup playoffs to
Yes.
Vince and ShamWow.
Yeah.
So I see time-wise where I know you may be watching this like 6 months later. I don't know why, but you may be. In case you are, it's our live time is 8:33 p.m. Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Savings Time, just to be specific. So we're depending on where you're watching. So that means, Dave, now that I've usurped 33 minutes of this show, there's only 12. Oh, figure skating.
Is it morning yet? That's all I want to know.
Do you want to do some analysis of figure skating there?
Yes. Is this Tanya Harding? What's going on here?
Tanya Harding?
Yes. I saw that movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's based on a true story.
Yes. That was unbelievable.
Yeah. Back in the games in Lillehammer, 1994.
You're so knowledgeable. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
It's
you work in that for like 25, 30 years.
Oh, my God.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Tanya Harding thing, Nancy Kerrigan, stems from the 1990, in terms of when it actually happened. It's a true story, obviously. But I'm pretty sure it was the 1994 Winter Games in Lillehammer.
That's where it happened?
Yeah. Now, remember, it was 94, so it must have been Lillehammer, because that's where the Winter Games were. So, anyway, but I don't know who that was figure skating in there.
They're playing with the computer here. I don't know what they're looking for. All in the Family.
Doesn't matter. All in the Family. We can talk about that.
You like talking about All in the Family?
It's one of the greatest series ever.
Absolutely, yes.
Norman Lear was a genius.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It is the greatest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Archie appealed to the, highly dogmatic type people, and the liberal people thought, does a guy like that really exist? The highly dogmatic people would say, yeah, he sounds like me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's one of the many reasons why it worked. But probably now with the standards and practices, I don't know if they'd ever allow a show like that on the air again.
Correct.
But I'm grateful to the Lord I got to see that show. It was spectacular.
Yes. It was spectacular.
Just
the writing was wonderful. I mean, his performance was great, but the writing was crazy.
Carol O'Connor was brilliant. I mean, all of them. Rob Reiner went on to have a great career as a producer.
Absolutely, yeah. The chemistry was great between all the actors.
Yeah, Sally Struthers, for sure.
Yes.
Okay, a little diversion there into top 10 TV shows of all time. Now, that one would be right up on anybody's list who was alive then.
Oh, yes. Wonderful.
Late 60s, early 70s.
And it still holds up now. You can see it on YouTube, but it's fantastic.
So let's do, because we're now at, we just usurped another 2 minutes. We're at 8:35.
Is the show over?
The Windows updates decided to start going on.
I got rid of it. It's fine. We're good.
So David, have you had a good time? You're yawning already.
Oh, no,
You're
no.
yawning. Holy crap.
I wasn't
You
yawning.
yawn in the middle of the show.
Would you call me an Uber, please?
They won't be able to find us. Are you kidding?
You ain't kidding.
God forbid, this place is like a bomb shelter.
God,
I mean, holy smokes, this thing probably could survive nuclear weaponry. Look at that. I mean, the ceilings of
He called me and said, Dave, I want you to do this show here with Stormin Norm. We're going to be in the StorageMart. I said, what? What?
StorageMart, is that related to like Walmart?
Oh,
any other marts?
No.
Shoppers Drug Mart?
StorageMart is the sponsor of Skate to Great.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
You know what? This is like, I'm looking at this. You know, we're just across from other storage units. Like, it's wide enough so it could be like a penthouse in a prison. You know what I'm saying? God forbid.
I've never been in a storage facility.
So what do you think? Needs a little bit of some curtains. We need some curtains. We got aluminum siding here, and you know that's a big export product for Canada. Aluminum siding. They're worried that Donald Trump was going to put on a big tax. It looked like he changed his mind. So thank God our aluminum business is in good shape. I think.
Okay, good.
Aluminum exports.
Thank you.
Did you know that one of the stories I heard about that because the concern was if he puts the big tariff on aluminum exports from Canada to USA. Do you know that Hershey's Kisses chocolates are wrapped in Canadian aluminum foil? How do you like that? Hershey's from Hershey, Pennsylvania, your home state.
Yeah.
The Hershey's Kiss. I heard a U.S. congressman from Pennsylvania talking about this, or a senator, and he was saying one of the things they were worried about is that the Hershey Chocolate Company uses aluminum foil imported from Canada on the Hershey's Kisses, and they obviously manufacture thousands a day. So imagine if you could no longer get your Hershey's Kisses, eh? From Hershey, Pennsylvania. They also have a hockey team there. They're the farm team of the Washington Capitals, if I'm not mistaken. The Hershey Bears. You should go see them sometime.
Oh my God!
Well, I've driven through. Have you ever driven? I've driven past Hershey, Pennsylvania. I can't remember if we're on our way to Philly or Pittsburgh. Probably Pittsburgh. You go by, you can smell the chocolate on the highway. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I'm serious. I'm not like people think I'm being fun. I'm not. If you're driving through Pennsylvania, you're going by the town of Hershey, where the chocolate company is located. You roll down your windows, and I guess when they got the plant going, you can smell the chocolate. It's
fantastic?
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so who we got?
We got Tanya Harding here.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, she got herself a little bit of hot water.
Do you guys know how to do a triple sow cow?
Yes.
Do you know what a triple sow cow is?
I can barely pronounce it. Never mind, do it.
Isn't that what she did? That she's known for?
Oh, well, that's just one of the better moves. And triple sow cow is one of the tougher moves in figure skating. Not that I've ever done it, but anyway. So.
Is anyone watching the show besides you and Dave? That's all I want.
Got a couple people
All
watching.
your
There's
relatives
people
are
watching.
Oh yes.
How big's your family, David? All your relatives are watching this?
Yeah, they're all watching them.
This prestigious show?
Yeah, after The Bachelor.
Bachelor,
After The Bachelor, they're watching.
Yeah, no, I've never ventured to watch The Bachelor. I skip over that. Although a lot of my lady friends watch it.
Oh.
They have get-togethers. Like guys get together to watch playoff events in sports or sports events.
Yes.
Gals get together. They have their little gal get-together night to watch The Bachelor. A lot of my lady friends do that.
I didn't know that.
So they'll order in a pizza or whatever they
yeah?
like, and they'll get together, and that's their escape. That's their sports,
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's their thing.
You guys, you
have a girls' night out.
You look very relaxing with the figure skating on in the background.
Oh, very relaxed. Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, it's good B-rolls, we say in the industry, right?
Can you bring up Gilligan's Island? Did they ever get off the island? Or the Brady Bunch, Gomer Pyle? What can you bring up here?
Most of the audience has no clue what you're talking about.
They have no clue.
So,
Johnny Carson, can you bring him up? I like the...
Johnny is incredible.
Yes, there was nobody like him. Yes, of course. Yes.
There was, they were talking about TV shows way back then. There were some spectacular shows. All right.
We have 5 minutes left. If someone wants to call in, now's the time.
Please, somebody call in.
Give them the number there, David.
1-855 S2G.
What?
S2G.
Oh, skate to great.
S2G1.
I knew there was a catch.
Please call that number now, and
what can they ask you about, David?
you can ask me, how do I get the hell out of here? That's how you can ask me. That's what I want you to ask. How do I make a left or make a right? I got so lost. It's amazing, this crazy place here. Jesus Christ. What am I doing here? That's what you should ask David. What are you doing here?
Well, like I say, I think we can be proud. We're the first people ever to do a live show from a bomb shelter.
You ain't kidding. You're right. First people do a lot from a bomb shelter.
It's actually StorageMart. Right? Did you get the name right?
StorageMart, yes.
StorageMart.
Is sponsoring skate.
So,
here we go. Now we're talking. Now 5 minutes left. You bring up a half-hour show. Jesus Christ.
David's just going to watch.
No, I'll watch this. Keep talking about the Flyers. All right.